Hi, you are watching SightsIn and this is Romesh Shivastu. Please to subscribe the channel for the HR news, HR updates and conversation with the top notch CHROs, thought leaders and business heads. Today, we are trying to dive deep the gig economy job market in India. So gig workforce is expanding in India. If you look at the numbers, according to BCG, currently India has around 15 million gig workers. And this number may reach up to 25 million by 2030. According to PTI report, the India may have around 90 to 110 lakh gig workers in 2025. So it means we have good numbers and good potential for the gig economy. To discuss in detail, today we have two senior HR leaders. Let me introduce Mr. Manish Gour. He is Vice President Human Resources at L&T Heavy Engineering Division, and Mr. Sahil Nayar. He is HR thought leader. So, Sahil, if I come to you first, so how do you anticipate the gig economy job market in India?
So, Ramesh, thank you so much, first of all, for having us on your show. I think the numbers that you spoke about and the reports that you referred to, personally, in my view, these numbers are significantly underreported because these are just the formal numbers that are coming across from various people who would have participated in these kind of. I think the numbers are way, way, way more higher. And there are three broad reasons why the gig economy is actually taking center stage in today's world in the changing times. One, we have seen a massive exodus from the corporate world post-COVID. A lot of people have lost jobs. There have been a lot of layoffs, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people are not good at what they do. They do have the skill sets, they are talented, and there is a market for them. Many of them had the fear of diving into entrepreneurship because it requires a lot of courage and risk taking. But there has been a very clear push that has got them in the direction to enter the gig workforce. And the third, I very clearly believe, is whether it is the freedom, whether it is the autonomy, or whether it is the inability to deal with toxic work environments. A lot of people have found gig as a great avenue to come in, work on a project, deliver to their skill sets, achieve outcomes, get their money, and move out. The larger administrative role of managing teams, dealing with political acumen gets really taken care of. And therefore, I think it is only the beginning. We've seen this in the West historically, but in India, I think this is the beginning for the gig economy. But having said that, and all the positives, there is one thing that I want to very clearly call out. Historically, we've been an economy that has been a very safe economy in the sense there was job security. There was a lot of benefits in terms of statutory benefits like gratuity, like PF that come across when you do employment. But the gig workforce, and I would really send this out as a large message to say for the gig workforce, we need to have a lot of social security schemes that also protect them in cases when they would have patches of lack of work coming their way. But I think in a nutshell, to answer your question, the gig economy is here to stay.
Yes, right. The numbers may vary based on report to report. Some reports are claiming 15 million. There are also reports that are claiming the 20 million people. But also, I'd like to share one more data. According to NITI Aayog, the gig workers may make up around 4.1% of the total workforce in India. Manisa, what is your take on this?
Thank you for having me on this discussion, Ramesh, to begin with. If you remember, I think around the time when pandemic was setting in and we were having the first wave on and then that intermittent period before the wave 2 came in. So at that point of time, I had written that the gig economy is starting to make its inroads in the manufacturing industry. And because there was a buzz, there was a discussion constantly within our management teams that how we will be able to secure people to be there as we go forward into the jobs, because we were seeing a scenario in which there were people who were committed to work. There were people, those who at that point of time wanted more, to take that off and be away to help themselves protect from the health scenario. So it looked like that, yes, this is something that will come forth. But later, after both the waves have been through and things started recovering, and now almost everything is back to normal as before the pandemic, what we realize is that manufacturing setups are mostly set outside of the cities, and they are in middle level cities, or even outside of the middle level cities, and even the rural areas. So that flexibility to have the gig workforce, which is very much available in the metropolis, is not available, and that kind of a resource is not available that we can utilize and make use of. Attrition levels shot up suddenly, but we did not have a solution. And where gig working would have helped us to do the stopgap, so it actually did not come into play. So that is how it is looking now. And maybe also we had that intermittent stage in which you saw some moonlighting as well. So it has not actually helped the cause for manufacturing, and it did not come through very well. So at the moment, into the manufacturing especially, we don't see a very bright scenario, though we are quite open-minded to accept if it is possible to accommodate such kind of a scenario, because it provides us a lot of flexibility, especially in terms of high workloads which come up from time to time.
Yeah, I think rightly said as far as the manufacturing is concerned. So if you look in descending order, so it comes at fourth or fifth ladder. First, we look that is the retail industry. That could be the retail, trade, e-commerce, that and some sales that could be there. Then IT services, software industry, then transportation, then finance, insurance, then manufacturing and education. So this is the order generally we see in various reports. Sahil, apart from this industry, how do you see that? What are the points which are triggering, you can say, which are key factors for hiring the gig workers in industries?
I think, Romesh, I like the way you did a pegging of the industries because, like Manish ji also put it, very appropriately, that different industries will have a different definition towards the gig workforce. Some may be very proactive, some may be slightly more conservative as far as the gig workforce is concerned. I think to your specific question, do we really see the triggers playing out? Definitely yes, because we see situations where as long as talent is available on certain projects, and this is more from a consulting perspective, where you need to go and work on a project, deliver a certain assignment and engagement, you may not necessarily have that talent in-house. You may not have a regular need of a particular skill set. So instead of then building it internally, investing a lot of time and energy in skilling existing people, you would rather go and buy that talent from outside. Now, you also know that buying that talent permanently, which is in terms of an employee, may not necessarily make sense because you don't know when the next project or the similar project is going to come up, what kind of growth plans are there, so on and so forth. But having a gig worker come in, deliver to the project to the satisfaction of what your brand would stand for as a brand promise, serves as a very effective, what I call as a plug and play. So you have someone, you bring in the person, of course, there's a great amount of orientation to what values you have, and there should be alignment on values and the brand promise. But once that's done, I think, it's a fantastic plug and play model. And Romesh, we see this not just in consulting, just to add on, also if you see it in IT, it is very, very rampant because large implementation projects, you need a lot of people to come in, work on a project. They have the technical knowledge and the know-how. They have the skill sets. They depute it on the project is complete, and then they go back. So it works pretty well.
Manish would like to add here something.
Yeah, actually, one of our businesses which is more service oriented than manufacturing. So where we are involved in site execution work for our clients. So there, this gig working model is working all right because we have projects domestic as well as international and scattered across the country. And while we put some of the core team there, the other team is more skilled and retained for only that particular project at that particular site based on requirement. And this team, after they have dealt through with the project and the project executed and delivered to the client, so necessarily are not retained. We move from one location to another. So the core team may still continue to move from one location to another, but then those people who are skilled in nature required specifically depending upon the customization at that particular location for the project execution. So only that much is the team which is taken on for that project, onboarded and then released. It also works very well, especially in the Middle East, because we have a lot of people from India there who prefer working on this kind of assignments and getting released and getting into another assignment instead of continuing with us in long term and looking for a permanent employment. This kind of tendency we don't see in India at the moment. They definitely look to a longevity with us, but considering that they have been already communicated in advance that they are being brought in only for a particular assignment, so it works through all right. But provided an option, they would definitely want to stay rather than be detached after the closure of the project.
Gig workers, these are not, these are the independent consultants, you can say. These are, self-employed people. These are some the people, those who are having the specific skills, but they are not contractual people. So some social security, when we talk about, so in contractual cases, they also provide some social security. How do you see this deterrent, like social security, or as you said, that this longevity, these are the deterrents? So how we can deal with this situation? In India, I think when we were talking about the 4 labor codes, so somewhere it is going to be, this labor law is going to consider this point as well. How do you see this social security for the gig workers?
So I think we are compliant on all social security measures for the people, those who are taken up on the project. And they have that option to reclaim the social security benefits after they have moved out from our employment. And they also have the option to get it transferred into another account if they are taking up another employment elsewhere. So that is there. So we are compliant. We are taking care of that particular thing. And that way, so we don't have any issues on that account. In overseas employments where we take such people, so at that point of time, there, even if you put everything on the package and just be compliant with the social legislation out there, so it works well. So there is There is no as such effort from our side, and they are also quite comfortable because there it is already a normal, whereas in our country it is yet to be a normal. So some of the people, they get to understand that it can work, but others, because our social security system or our social system is such that there is always a um, element of obtaining permanency in the job that goes on. So it comes into play. And sometimes over a period of time, people get uncomfortable that they are taking up short-term jobs and getting released.
And Sahil, how do you see this social security part for the gig workers?
So, Ramesh, like I mentioned in my opening comments, right? If someone is doing a short-term assignment, or what we call as FTS, right, a fixed-term staff at one place, of course, today most organizations take care of the kind of implications on supporting the individual on those assignments. My larger concern is for the truest form of gig workers, where someone is working in 4 or 5 places at one time concurrently. So you may be spending 2 hours on a client in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. In a month, you may be contributing 15 hours to one client, so on and so forth. Now, that is the truest form of gig working. Now, in that situation, no single person or organization is going to take responsibility for Social Security. And therefore, I think it is very important that the government needs to step in to play a larger role in terms of looking at Social Security for such kind of gig workers who are, of course, paying GST, who are paying income tax, and therefore have some kind of fallback in situations where either their income goes down or they have a loss of income or they have other situations.
And Sahil, how do you see with the advancement of technology, as we see the advancement in technology, more the technology is emerging. How do you see this is going to, get benefit for this gig economy market? Because many platforms are there like Fiverr, many like freelancer.com, many Ola, Uber. These all are based on the internet. So how
Yeah.
do you see it is going to help in increase the gig economy?
So I think, Ramesh, there are 2 parts to this. The first part is very clearly technology. The second is the mindset. I think with the changing mindset of people, that it doesn't matter where the person is sitting, right? Earlier, it used to be that please come to office, sit outside my cabin so I know how many hours you're working, how long you're taking a smoke break or a lunch break. Today, a lot of people work from home. Forget work from home. Today, in a gig economy, you may be having someone sitting 7 seas apart and delivering exactly what you want in the right quality, in the right amount of time at a lovely price. And I think what has enabled all of this is what I call as a digital marketplace. There are a lot of now platforms available where the service provider and the service receiver are meeting. So there is a very beautiful marketplace, a digital marketplace, where the person who's providing the service, who has the skill set, and the person who needs someone puts up their request. Person has a look at it. It works. I have the skill set. I have the time on hand. I want to pick up this project. I want to associate with this organization, with this brand, with this logo. I contribute. And of course, very clearly to say, market forces are also deciding the kind of fees that these gig workers command. And you will notice that over a period of time, just the way you have it on various apps today, where you get a rating, on various platforms, each gig worker will also have a certain rating which will be received based on the various projects that they have done, on their quality, on their fees, on their commitment, so on and so forth. So it will be a very transparent avenue for you to choose what kind of skill set do you need and at what price. And therefore, when the buyer and the seller meet, automatically you have a problem that gets solved without contractual liability, but at the same time with ease of working.
So, Sahil, I was also going through a report by the NITI Aayog, and according to this, around 22% gig jobs are for the highly skilled people, and 47% jobs are for the medium skilled, or you can say semi skilled people, and 31% jobs are for the low skilled people. So this is how they try to bifurcate on the basis of a skill. So it means semi skilled people, for the semi skilled people, there are more jobs in gig economy. Manish, sir, I think we tried to discuss that what are the industries hiring at the higher pace for the gig workers, and what are the trigger points, what are the factors which are helping to the this gig economy. Anything else which is important and we did not cover, would you like to share?
Nothing comes up to my mind immediately.
Sahil, any of your take on this?
I think, Ramesh, there are 2 or 3 broad tenets that we need to explore when we talk about the gig economy or the gig workforce, right? One, very, very clearly, is this whole concept of stability, right? A lot of people in the Gen Z generation get bored very easily, and therefore it is a great opportunity to do a project, jump from one place to another, get onto a flight, go do a different project, sit in the convenience of your home, work on a third project. A fourth project is in the US, different time zone, you're nocturnal, you can sit at night to work on that project, right? And therefore you can be so-called a digital nomad. But the fundamental question still remains that how do you create a sense of belongingness with this kind of gig worker who today is just in it for the money? Because beyond the money, how is it that the value add can come in when you're looking at it beyond money? That's one. Second, I think reward and recognition and the whole aspect of rewarding people basis their skill sets, basis the value that they bring on a project is a very unexplored avenue, because the general standard R&R mechanisms will not work with a gig workforce. You have to think innovatively out of the box to recognize and reward the gig workers. And the third most important aspect, which does not have any governance, at least to my knowledge as of now, is the whole concept of data privacy. So how is it that if you give access of your company's data to a gig worker to work on a certain area, that data, you can have an NDA and all of that, but ultimately how much of it is enforceable in the court of law to an extent? Do you want to keep fighting legal battles, or do you want to have a situation where you can build a certain equation of trust so that you have that gig worker becoming a repeat gig worker? So I think these are we can spend a lot of time discussing all of this, but in a nutshell, I think these 3 aspects are very important aspects that we need to think of in detail when we think of gig workers.
So, I think we tried to discuss all the aspects related to the gig economy. Around 65% of the Indian companies are hiring the gig workers currently, and there's a much scope as projected by one of the report by this NITI Aayog, that around 4.1% of the total workforce that is going to be the gig worker in next 5 years. So there's a good scope. Thank you so much, Mr. Manish and Mr. Sahil, for joining the conversation and sharing your wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ramesh. Thank you. Thank you, Manish. Nice being with you.